Hello, everyone. I am Honorable Valencia Stovall coming to you today. It's April the 5th. How safe is the land you live in is our topic for today. And of course, we have a special guest here, Honorable Deetra Poindexter with the Clayton County Water and Soil Conservation Supervisor. But before we bring on Ms. Poindexter to speak, we want to welcome everybody to another interesting episode, of course, and of Issues and Answers. You are listening to the new WCEG Network, WCEG Talk Radio, and or watch us live on Smart TV, YouTube, WCEG Network. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter or Instagram, WCEG_talk_radio. The topics and opinions that you will hear this afternoon are those of the show hosts and guests and not WCEG Network. And thank you for your continued support. And it seems like everybody want to call me when I get online, right? Okay. So, I want to take a moment to remember those who are no longer here with us and send prayers to their families. A dear friend of mine, Angel Massey, her father passed away recently, Mr. Billy Smith. He was a man with a good personality and he always kept us laughing. He was one of my good supporters when I was a state representative. And I didn't realize later on that my family had known his sister before I even knew his daughter. So, you look at that, that's a small world. And we also thank those who continue to be on the front line to keep us safe and ensuring that we are healthy and that our immediate needs are met and that everything else that we're needing during this time of the pandemic is actually happening for us. So we appreciate all of you all. If nobody told you thank you, we want to tell you thank you.
Like what?
All right. So now, before we go into our discussion for today, I would like to thank those who viewed. So on Saturday, March the 27th, we had the first annual Yoruba virtual culture celebration that was held live, and it was on the Status Network and live TV. And you can actually go and see that if you missed it on that Saturday. We learned a lot about the origin of the Yoruba tribe, which is one of the largest and fastest growing tribes in Africa, coming from out of Nigeria, but they are located all around the world. We were able to celebrate performances. Actually, we saw it at the King's Palace. We saw art, we saw fashion, history, the presentation of resolutions given by our House member and Senate member, and highlights of a roundtable discussion. Now, on the misconceptions between Africans in the diaspora and African Americans. Now, I won't go into details, but we discussed about the many wives of African men. And you could just imagine how that conversation went. And we're going to definitely continue that conversation again. So now let's talk about legislative session has ended for 2020. Woo, that's all I can say. I know that's what the legislators are saying. It was a roller coaster with no end. And I definitely miss my former colleagues, but I don't miss the activities that took place during this session. And I want to speak briefly on the incident of a legislator knocking on the governor's door. And I want to tell you all that I did not support that, did not go along with her knocking on that particular door. And the reason I did not was because I feel that was a planned act. I'm an independent, as those who may not know. So I'm neither for the Republicans nor I'm for the Democrats. I'm independent. And so I'm able to see what I feel is the right thing to do. So let me give you in about less than a minute a recap of what happened. and why I said that there was another way, that that particular way didn't have to take place. So on that particular day, there was a knock on the side door. And any of you all who've ever been down to the state capitol and visited and even have taken pictures with the governor, whichever governor, you know, the governor is the only person and his staff that enter, and his security that enter in and out of that side door. There are 4 glass doors in the front of the governor's office that anyone from the public can enter at any time. And that is the same door when you're going in to get your bill signed, or someone is getting appointed to a commission or some kind of other prestigious position. That's the door that you go in, those 4 glass doors. Now, had it been that she had gone through those 4 glass doors in the front, why are we going to the back when we now could go through the front door? And had those things transpired about her being arrested, that's a different conversation. But everyone that's a legislator knows you don't go through that side door. And so people have different opinions about what happened and why it happened the way it did. And that's okay. But I just wanted to make sure that I was here to kind of straighten up some of the misconceptions about what was happening down at the state capitol during that particular time. Now, also, let me give you another little tidbit that you didn't know about. You also, as a legislator, you have two ways of contact to the governor's office directly. One is through the floor leaders, which are your other colleagues that have been designated as the governor's floor leaders, and they're the ones that carry the legislation for the governor. The other is a governmental liaison that is assigned to legislators. And I have used both methods plenty of times when I was down at the state capitol, whether it was with Governor Kemp or Governor Deal. So if she really wanted to go and see the signing of that bill, she could have got direct access to talk to them to allow her to go in. Another thing, now I want you to ask any legislator, current or present or past, how many of them has actually desired to go and be present at the signing of a bill that you voted against? That's really usually don't happen. Another thing, when some people said he signed it behind closed doors, the doors are always closed whenever you're in the governor's office. I have had 2 bills that actually were signed behind closed doors, but I was able to invite who I wanted to in there. That's the discretion of that the governor has. So all this stuff, you know, to me, when you add extra information or extra drama to an already sensitive situation, when you talk about discrimination, racial discrimination, not only in Georgia, in this country, let's stick with the facts. If the issue is SB 202, then let's talk about that. But don't add in all the extra that you might want to blow it all out of proportion, because that's exactly what happened, you all. And another thing, this last part, and then we're going to get into the reason why we have Supervisor Poindexter on here, but I need to educate you all, because that's my goal with this show, is to empower you and educate you so that you can go forward with new knowledge. Now, the lawmakers also, if you all look back at the tape, there was a motion made by one of the House members to expedite that bill over to the Senate. For those who might not understand the process, that just means that the clerk, instead of going through the normal process of going over to the Senate, the clerk actually took it over there immediately. So there was at least an hour and 30 minutes time span between the time that bill left the House till it got over to the Senate. It was about an hour debate in the Senate. If she really wanted to be down there to sign the bill, she could have already used that hour and 30 minutes time to contact the governor's office and been down there to sign it. So there are a lot of things that you all didn't know that was taking place. I watched it and I laughed because I said they ought to be ashamed of fooling people that had them thinking that it was some hanky-panky going on. I'm not saying that the bill was good. There's some things in there that are okay in the bill, and then there's some things I think are ridiculous in the bill. But the point that I'm making is that incident of knocking on the door, and then some of you all were falling down there at the state capitol, talking about you staying with her and doing what, wrong? Because that's what it was. But anyway, Supervisor Poindexter, we are so excited for having you here. The topic for today is, how do we stay safe? How safe is the land that we live on? And when I thought about this particular topic, of course, I thought about you immediately in your position. Many things that we see that are happening now are unusual happenings, whether it's earthquakes in strange places, like the Bible might say, diverse places, flooding, airborne viruses like the viruses that we're dealing with now, and other unpredictable weather. So is Mother Nature trying to tell us something and we're not listening? Well, for the next about 45 minutes, we're going to have a conversation with our newly elected Clayton County Soil and Water Conservation Supervisor. That's a lot all in one sentence. Ms. Deetra Poindexter, welcome to Issues and Answers with me. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be here with us.
Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. And yes, you're right. I have a very long title, but I'm very proud of it.
Yes. For those of you all who may not know, this is not my first time speaking with Supervisor Poindexter. I've been knowing her a long time, many years in the education space. And she's also the chair of the Clayton County Library Board. And she's also the founder of Change for Hope organization, which we both collaborated on for the recent I Am Powerful Teen Summit, which was in February, which I was honored to be a presenter. So, Ms. Poindexter, let's jump right into it. So you were elected in the November 3rd, 2020 general election. And many people did not know what your position does, do not know what your position does. So please share with us the duties of a soil and water conservation supervisor.
Well, thank you again for having me on your show. And yes, the soil and water conservation plays a very big role in your counties that you live in. But here in Clayton County, we are to make sure that with owners that have their own land and anything that a developer is doing, that if it breaks that concrete or it breaks that asphalt and it goes into the soil, then we need to be notified about it, because we do have on-site inspectors that goes out there and monitor those sites, and then they have to get approved. And then once the site developer out there get it approved, it comes to me and my department with my other colleagues, and we approve it and sign off of it, but it goes to the commissioners. So then the commissioner plays a big role. If we don't get those signatures, that development can stop on the spot.
Wow. Woo, and I think about zoning and planning. I guess that might be my limited understanding, is that I just thought that zoning and planning, once they approve it, of course, they send a recommendation to the county commissioners, and then, of course, then they agree or disagree, with it. I didn't know that there was a role for the soil and water conservation department. And then, you know that there's some groundbreaking going on with construction, but you never think about the other stuff. And I know that across the Metro Atlanta area, there's so much disturbance to the natural habitat because of development, and it's rapid developments. My dad lives in Atlanta, Southeast Atlanta, and I've seen new multi-purpose housing being built. New construction. I'm like, all that wasn't going on. Can the land hold all of that new construction that's taking place? So how important is it for residents to be concerned about the soil, water, our soil, water, what we call soil is dirt in layman's terms, and water?
Well, it's very important, because if you happen to be a landowner and something is going on, then you will want to know to get the information. And then also with the soil and water conservation, we are a government. We are the state of Georgia. So we are a state agency. So we report to the state. So we're a little bit above your county as far as making decision-wise and everything like that. So if something is going on, we have to report that, and then we get our bosses that is over us they come in, and also to reinforce what maybe the county is trying to overlook or bypass us. And then we can also make recommendations for the water authority to get involved, to make sure that the environmental people, they are involved to make sure that it would not have no long-term effect on people that's living in that area of that county.
Wow. You know, that speaks a lot. You know, you don't think about when you're buying a house. I mean, you go through all those other parts that you have to remember and everything. But like I said, I just never, and I've seen the position on the ballot, but I didn't have a clue about what a soil and water supervisor was. And I know that you've been definitely involved with it, because I know I've attended some of the meetings online with the Clayton County Conservation Board that was meeting. Now, are those meetings open to the public?
Yes, our meetings are open to the public. We want them to be aware of what's going on. And I really call them our watchdogs. You know, our watchers. If you see something that's going on, we want you to report it. If you know anybody on the soil and water committee, let us know, because we bring those issues up at the committees. And then we have those, each person in the county or each of those cities. So we have Morrow, we got Riverdale, we got Lovejoy, we have Forest Park. I think I'm missing a couple more that's in the county.
Mm-hmm.
In the county, Jonesboro, thank you. That's in the county. So those cities having different projects are going on as far as development. We need to be notified that somebody that's living in those areas and saying, hey, whoa, what they doing over here? What they digging in the ground? What they about to do now? So if you don't know, you can contact us and we'll get the answer for you. And if it is something that we have an oversight that we're supposed to be over that project, then we can go and ask and be able to tell them, you know, what the issue is, what the deal is, and what's going to make sure that everybody is in compliance. Because this information should be shared by your commissioners, but sometimes it always don't get filtered down until they get ready to be voted on as far as the developers coming in your area. And half of the time, it's already halfway through the approval that you didn't know anything about.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned about the commissions, but then you have some areas that are within the city limits. So so those cities also will have to go through you all as well for any of those new development or construction projects. Is that
Yes.
Is that, okay.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes. The city and corporated and incorporated, long as they in that county or Clayton County, the soil and water is involved. The soil and water conservation are involved.
Yeah, and I know that many people know that the Flint River runs through actually the middle of the county. And I know that at some points there were issues with the flooding and all of that. So I know that, like I said, I was on a couple of meetings and they were talking about how to be able to use some areas where that water is going through as something like recreational, but they'll still be saving the quality of that river, the water that goes through that particular river. And so I know that you all are involved with that as well.
Yes, we are. Okay. So it just determined, you know, to make sure that if we need to contact the water authority and making sure that they're doing everything per protocol that needs to be done. And then also to determine with that water conservation, if it's something that can be disturbed, some things you cannot touch.
Okay. Now, I remember one time when I was looking at a project over at the Fort Gillum when I was a state rep, and I remember talking to someone from one of the conservation groups, and before I get into that, what are some of the other organizations or departments that you all collaborate with as the Soil and Water Conservation Districts?
Yeah, so we're in cooperation with other organizations. We have the Georgia Soil and Water Conservation Commissions. We also have the National Resource Conservation Service, and we also have the Georgia Association Conservation District, the University of Georgia, extension, and we also have the Farm Bureau and local government office as well, and many other organizations, but those are the ones that we constantly stay in direct contact with. So we're really resources for them and keeping them up to par and knowledgeable about what's going on.
And so about how many districts are there in the state?
We have 40. We have 40 districts in the state of Georgia.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, it is.
Especially when you think about something that you didn't even know about. And the importance of, to me, when you talk about soil and water, is because that's where our food comes from. And you got so many communities now that are doing community gardens. Many of the cities have taken on, that task of doing community gardens, and individuals. I know Seven Pillars, the Career Academy, they have a community garden. And I know at Forest Park High School, they working on, they started a food forest on the campus of the school. So when you start thinking about the importance of that soil and that water being clean, because it's what's causing the plants to grow, and then that's what we're consuming in our body if we're growing in our community. And so go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. But yes, it's like the connecting of the dots. One thing does not produce without having this first. Your soil is the base of all reproduction. You can't produce anything if you don't have the good soil. And if we polluting it by putting incorrect things into the ground, you're not going to be able to get the results that you're looking for about doing gardens or doing anything else. You can't put good trees down if your soil is not right. We dumping things that shouldn't be there. If people don't recycle and put things where it's supposed to be at, you damaging your environment, which comes into where now that soil is contaminated, yes, thank you. I'm losing my words. I'm so passionate about what we talk about, but it plays a domino effect when other people in other agencies don't think about it. Some developers that try to take shortcuts and just dump stuff anywhere. Then what was good land to do things on, now you can't do it anymore, because now you got to go into a cleaning period, which takes some times, which time leads into some years to get it cleaned up.
Yeah, and also thank you, Sharon, for reminding me. I don't know how I forgot about Little Ones. That's one of my favorite places I go and visit. I've been over there, and they're gonna be starting back up the the Little Lions food store. I know I messed it all up. One, they're gonna get me, but over on Forest Avenue in Forest Park, so you can be able to actually go and purchase fresh fruits and vegetables that are grown out of their garden, and they also collaborate with some of our Georgia farmers. And you can use your EBT card. So many of you all got that extra money from the federal government. They added some more money. So go over there and get that fresh fruits and vegetables and supporting a local organization in our community. Thank you, Sharon, for reminding me about it.
And Valencia, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I had to make sure I put this in. And with the Soil and Water Conservation Department, our district, we are contributing to Little Ones and giving them the garden tools or whatever they need, the necessity equipment that they need. So we have partnered with them as well. Also partner with Seven Pillars. So to incorporate their garden, to make sure they get the right soil, the right materials, everything that they need. So we're promoting that as well. And then also we have partnered up with the Clayton County Library. So we have the headquarter library off of Battle Creek, we have Lovejoy, and we have Riverdale. So we'll be having community gardens there as well, up under the supervision of the Soil and Water Conservation that's going to be overseeing that. So whatever is needed, we have grants money that comes down to help promote that within our community, to let the community know that we are serious about what we do and what we're trying to educate the people in keeping their soil and their water viable.
That's wonderful, because Clayton County and Southeast Atlanta, which runs right into the top part of Clayton, are food deserts. And food deserts are places where fresh fruits and vegetables are not readily available and affordable. And so when you're able to grow it your own self, that's even better because when you need it, you don't have to jump in your car to go to the store. You just go out there to the garden, get some little herbs or whatever. And I ain't talking about the other kind of herbs. We talking about the ones that you consume, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And what we pride ourselves off of is that we pick the locations because it's a twofold. We're bringing awareness to the community, but at the same time, it's an educational piece for those young learners as well. How you get in tune with the dirt, get your hands in there, get the feel of it. But we want to where it's a high traffic. So even the library can use it as a learning tool as well with different programs that they put on. It's a learning tool for the 4-H department as well. It's also a learning tool for the school system or homeschool or charter schools, anything like that, that they can go out there. We have master gardeners that would go out there and do the upkeep. And so, hey, you feel like I didn't eat anything today, you feel kind of, go out there in the library out on the garden and go grab you a fruit or a vegetable. And you know that it's nutrition, it's good for you, and it came from the ground. What the purpose is.
Ooh, that's wonderful, especially, you know, being able to partner with the library where a whole lot of people know. If you want to know some information, you go to the library because that's where the information is. And I think you and the library board and Ms. Lett have and her staff, Rebecca and is it Marquita?
Yes, Marquita. We got Scott, Mr. Scott. He's also one of the ADs. So they are an awesome team and making sure they have so many branches up under them, but with their leadership and also, like you said, with Director Lett and seeing the vision to making sure that we are one of the most top libraries that is up to date as far as meeting the needs of the community. We even have hotspots so that when this coronavirus hit us, that the student did not lose any type of education because we give out hotspots for free. All you need is your library card. So it's playing a big role, and the Soil and Water Conservation is very proud to partner up with them and to be an additional education resources for them.
Wow, that's good. And I mean, Ms. Poindexter, Supervisor Poindexter, you full of wealth and wealth of knowledge. I tell you one thing. Now, I know that the Army Corps, I was talking a little bit earlier about a project I had worked on as a state rep over at the Atlanta Farmers Market, which is now been renamed to Clayton County. Oh my goodness, I should know the name. I'm so excited about it. Anyway, y'all, my mind done left. Once I got out of office, I kind of forgot some stuff. But the name, it was renamed. And it was actually in cooperation with one of the study committees that I chaired when I was in the House. But one of the things that we wanted to look at developing some things over there at the farmers market to be able to bring people, families over there. And I remember talking with one of the advocates, soil and water advocates, I would say environmental advocates. And she was telling me about there are certain areas that cannot be disturbed. And she said, you have to check with the Army Corps or engineers. And I was like, I think about the Army, I'm thinking about just the Army, like the military. What they gonna come bring some guns in? What they gonna come and do? What they do? But you hear that a lot when it comes down to any kind of development or disturbance to certain protected areas. In the United States, because you hear that name a lot, even when the deepening of the Savannah port down in Savannah, you heard them talking about the Army Corps of Engineers. So is that one of your other partners or people that you all work with as well?
Yes. So, I mean, we have so much resources, so many people at our fingertips to the point where we can get the answer and tell you who is over that department that need to be taking care of that situation. Like I had a citizen to come and ask me some questions about the Fort Gillum situation and everything. So I took it back to my colleagues and also took it a step further and went to the Soil and Water Conservation commissioners and to get more deeper information. And they gave me a list of people that needs to be involved to oversee that issue that's going on. And then I think in the Clayton Crescent, sure enough, those list of agencies was listed in that newspaper article of who needs to get involved to make sure before that project was a sealed deal, all of those agencies need to be checked out. So we don't, yes.
Wow. Yeah, that was actually another question on my list. I was playing around with some of the other, because that's a heavy conversation dealing with Fort Gillem and the cleanup. And I know recently there was a survey sent out from the federal government to the community about them asking them what was their opinion about whether their water was clean or anything like that. And I know then there was an article, I think Clayton Crescent, giving Robin her credit, that wrote up an article. I think it was like 2 different articles that were written up about the people that live over in the apartments right on 42 that was always known. I always knew them as apartments that belonged to the base. I mean, they were, where soldiers live. But
yes,
found out that actually the city of Forest Park, I believe, owned those that land, those apartments when they acquired part of the base. And so there were some issues that had been going on over there with those residents that I know that because it's dealing with soil and water and some kind of cleanup chemical they're going to need to put in the ground to start trying to clean that up. So I know that you are going to have to be involved. I know our EPD, which is our Environmental Protective Division department, is just like the EPA on the federal level, but the state is called EPD. So I know that you are all that's involved. You're going to be involved into that. And I didn't know if you had any other comments you wanted to make on that process. I know it's still a process and they're still meeting and to kind of try to figure out what's the best remedy for those people that are living there. Some of them purchased houses and probably didn't even know that what was going on up under that ground because of the Army base had been there.
Yes, and you're right. No, the soil and water do not physically get involved. That's what I was saying before. We're like, say that your family doctor. So you can go to your family doctor and they can diagnose you with whatever's going on. And then they're going to send you out to who can actually fix it, because that's what they do all day, every day. So kind of like look at us as the soil and water conservation as your family doctor. So that's when we're going to direct you and say, hey, you need to call the environmental people to come out. You might need to call OSHA to come out and investigate some of those things. So now we're going to call out the specialties, the people that do their job every day, all day. So now they're going to get down to the nitty gritty. And then also we're going to let the commissioner know that it's some things that y'all did not look on y'all checklist or did not pay attention or just overlooked at all. So before that can go in place and everything, here's a list of people, and we'll be notifying them as well that this is a project that needs to be looked at a little bit more intense, and then they'll take it from there. So when citizens are asking us about stuff like that, that's what we do. We go call out the specialists that actually do that and say, hey, we just want to get an update report. Is someone out there on that site? And then we do have developers, that's our site that oversee the site before it can get approved and everything has ever been checked off. So with the city of Forest Park having that issue, those are stuff they need to go through before they can say that everything is safe, secured, and everything like that, because they're the sole proprietor of that land and everything. It goes back to that. And then also with the water, we call the water authority. The water authority say it's good, but once it gets on that property, it's no longer the water authority responsibility. So as people are complaining about the water, it smells, they're not able to take a shower or wash their dishes, then that's when the city need to call in and say, okay, what is the age of these pipes? Right. So that means we got to get updated. If people have to do updates on their pipes at their home, because we change pipes material every so many years to go along with the environment. So those are some of the things that they need to be checking out. Yes, I know a lot of those pipes have been there probably since the building of the Army base, and those galvanized pipes rust. And so if you have water coming from the street, which is good water, by the time it enters through those pipes, but I'm not no environmental specialist, but just use common sense.
by the time it flows through those pipes, and you got rust, bacteria, other foreign objects, I would say, that's now floating through that water, and that water going through the galvanized pipes into those homes, and they're coming out of their faucet where they're drinking this water, from, or they're cooking with it, or they're bathing with it, or they're watering their gardens. Let's say if they have a garden out there, so all of this is what could cause a whole lot of infirmities or sickness, and you're not even knowing. You think about the pollution that's coming, even when you think about the airport and the air pollutants that happen in some of the communities that are near the airport. And then you wonder, okay, why certain areas, some kids have a larger number of asthmatic or bronchitis in the area, or some people having breathing problems. Where you start looking at the soil and the water, that could also cause problems as well. And you wouldn't even know. What if you had, looking at, has there been a research or study done for those schools in that area to see, is there a certain amount of kids that's having abnormal behavior or abnormal health problems that anywhere else in the county, those kids not having the same problem? So sometimes we don't think about it, but once you start hearing, it's the water, something contaminated, you start thinking about everything else that could be a possibility.
Yeah, and I like to add too, like you said, like I stated in the beginning, it's all about you dumping chemicals in the ground, in the dirt, which is the dirt is the soil. So over some years, it started evaporating. So those are like invisible gas that is coming up from the ground into the air that we breathe. So that's another issue as well. So you got to be careful. And as a military person, I served 13 years in the Army Reserve.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. But Fort Gillett was one of my base that I had to be stationed at. So even though I was an accountant, and for the military, but I do know certain segments on the post that certain things were dumped in certain areas. But if those areas was not approved for dumping sites, that got approved and said this is okay, because that means somewhere in the future you cannot build a house and a thing. And just like you said with the garden, if they want to get out there and plant something, that soil is so messed up because it got so much chemicals in there. It's impossible for anything to grow until you go back out there and redo that land again. So it should have been investigated. It should have been already been looked into. They should have had a survey of somebody coming out there and surveyed and testing that soil to see what kind of chemicals or what has been dumped. And if it's livable for somebody to be in that area, it should have been cornered off. So those are where we'll say that area need to be on the conservation, meaning that you can't disturb it. It is untouched land. And so by you disturbing it, then it comes to having issues with the function of life, a function of living. So then it's a domino effect, like you said, it affects your health, it affects the ability for children to learn, mental issues, a whole lot of things that doesn't, all because you did not treat your soil the way that it should have been treated, and you dumped it, and nobody's not taking the time out to go back in there and correct what was some damage that was done knowingly.
Right. Yeah, and not only is a comment in the comment box, not only are the residents at the apartments, but the houses in the area could be affected, like Lake City, Conley, Morrow, Ellerwood, and other parts of Forest Park as well. Now, I'm asking this question. So we talk about our soil and water, and we know trees play, a little bit I paid attention to in school, that trees play a major role in making sure we have clean air to breathe. And a lot of times you can look at trees and tell how good that area is or how sick the area may be. And I know that I'm pretty sure you all work with the arborists when it comes down to the planting of the trees or even removing certain trees. Some of us who are not environmentally astute think about a tree, that tree fell, or I want to build something. We need to remove all those trees, and not understanding the significant role that trees play for our environment.
Yes, that is correct. And that's another thing that the soil and water conservation is heavily involved. We do tree giveaways. So we know how important it is to go out there and to plant the trees. It's not just good decoration in your yard to make your yard beautiful, but it also serves so many multi-purpose what that tree is there, even if we're in the season of the pollens. So it also catch some of the pollen so that when it get down to you as a human being, you won't be breathing that in. So, and also with the chemicals that's in the air or in the ground of that dirt or the soil, is not giving that tree the nutrition that it needs and stuff like that. So just like you're not going to be able to have a garden because everything that comes out of it is not going to be good vegetables or good fruit because the soil is damaged. So it's supposed to be an apple, but it's so mixed with other chemicals. It looks like an apple, but then it tastes something totally different and everything. So you're not getting nutrition the way you should. So we're damaging so much stuff, and the trees are being damaged as well. So they can't get full grown to their full life capacity because they have no nutrition from the ground, from the soil to keep them alive.
Wow. And there was another comment from Penny that talked about the situation that happened up in Flint, Michigan with their water problem and just even with the land and soil. And then there's some other issues that are happening in Florida right now as well. So there are a lot of things that are happening that, you know, as an average citizen, you're not paying attention to. But the reason we're having this show, and I thought it was important, is for you to start paying attention and asking questions about when those developments are happening in your community. Yeah, we want development, but you also have to have a balance when it comes down to the land and the capacity of a community to hold whatever that new development is going to be. Would that mean down that you're going to have to change out a lot of the pipes? That means that there's more money that the city or the county is going to have to spend in changing out those pipes and making sure that whatever new development is coming, that it's not going to mess up the current housing and even current businesses that are located there as well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it's a question that came in. So why are a lot of developments approved? Because of money? I think so, yes. Everything's about when it comes to money and not caring about the overall well-being of the community. And that's why it's important for you all as audience to start paying attention about what's going on in your community. You can attend your city council meetings. You can attend zoning and planning meetings. And the zoning and planning, for those who don't know, they're the departments that are set up, and those committees those people are appointed by either your city council and mayor or your commissioners. And they make decisions on what development can happen and what kind of zoning. So you have certain areas that are industrial. But if you start doing a mixed use and want to add housing into an industrial, just think about what industrial companies have been located there, where might be mixing chemicals, been going into the soil. Now you want to add housing into an area that should not even be considered. But those are decisions that are being made all the time that you a lot of times don't know about. So if nothing else you didn't get from this particular show, because we're going to be getting ready to wind down by a couple more questions to ask you, is that get involved and stay involved. Ask those questions, and you keep asking questions. Like I used to tell my children, you keep asking questions till you get the answer that you understand. If they don't give you the answer you don't understand, you keep asking questions. You're a citizen, you're a taxpayer, and you need to know what the elected officials, you hold them accountable. You voted for them, but that don't mean you walk away and trust them for what they're going to do. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, but you got to always have accountability in there. You let them know, I'm watching you. I want to know what's going on in my community.
Yeah, so I do like to add, Ms. Honorable Valencia, I would like to also add more things that the soil and water conservation does. Like I said, we do meet, it's an open public meeting that we have, and it's the second Monday of every month, and our meeting starts at 11 o'clock. So we welcome all people to come and be in on our meetings. And then also, if we have to stop a project, it is a fine. It's a $2,500 fine until they get it right, a day. So, like I said, we don't take this lightly at all. And we want people that's doing the development, we want to take it seriously. There's no shortcuts in what you're doing, because it's going to delay tragedy of people's lives and environment that they live in down the road. And even with the zoning, they really be having other people at the table when they decide they want to rezone something or rezone land for school district, for other things and stuff like that. You got to be real careful. You don't have the right people at the table, then that's when you start having later issues, because the people that you elected did not do due diligence and doing their homework and making sure, if I'm zoning these people in an area that's going to be dangerous to them, or am I rezoning an area where it's going to cause them problems, or am I rezoning where it's going to drop the value of my home or up the value, but it got so much issues going around it. It's like, what you do that for? What was you thinking? So also the soil and conservation, we go out and educate. That's another piece that we do as well. And we also give out scholarships. We see any Clayton County student that's a resident, doesn't matter what school you go to, if you live in Clayton County, we have scholarship that we send students to a camp where they can learn even more about the horticulture. And it ain't so much as just saying, I want to be an horticulture to grow. You can be an engineer, how to find out more things about it, be productive, and how you can change, be a thinker outside the box to make it a better society for us. So we give this out every year. So I'm encouraging all our young people that's out there, get involved. You might say no, but once you get there, you like, wow, this is bigger than I thought it was. And somebody's sending me for free. So we really want to make sure that we get that out. We'll go to any school, any daycare, any company, any job, any organization, nonprofit, profit organization, it doesn't matter. You need to know, and we're more than glad to come out and do a workshop, do a class, because the more you learn, the more you know. The more you know, the more you earn. So knowledge is powerful. And if we start teaching our young people about what's going on, they can also help make better people to get in those positions to do the right thing, because now they can hold them accountable because now they have the knowledge.
Right. And I appreciate that. We have about 13 minutes left, and you know I have to have my announcements in. I want to take this time to thank you, Supervisor Poindexter, for enlightening us. And one other comment I did want to make mention in the comment box was talking about how sometimes zoning and planning could have already approved the project that was talked about or approved years before it even happens. So you're thinking that, oh, they must have just approved. It could have been a couple of years beforehand that it was approved. And now it's just now going into the cycle of construction. So you all have to stay involved. Ms. Poindexter or Supervisor Poindexter, how can they find out more about the meetings that are taking place? And if they want someone from your department to visit their schools to educate the students or the organizations, or they just want to be involved. I know keeping Clayton beautiful was another hot topic that came up. We don't have time to go into it, but I know that you were leading the charge, you and Rob Leatherwood, when it came down to making sure that we need that department. And I think y'all are working through some things now with the commissioners, but every county has a Keep Their County Beautiful organization. And this is why in a national movement, because of things of what we're talking about now when it comes down to the environment. And so tell us real quick how to get in touch with you if they want to learn some more offline about what you do and what your organization and the department is doing.
Okay, yes, so you can go to the Clayton County website and then put in the search bar the Soil and Water Conservation Department, and it will bring us up with our direct number. I'm a community person. I love to be out in the community, so I'm going to give you my number. If you see something or you know something or you want us to come by, my number is 770-912-1638. Again, my number is 770-912-1638. 1638. And that's what we want to do. We want to come out there and get you educated. So again, just know that we are a state agency. So if something is not going on in your county that you need to be addressed, let us know so that we have authorities that is set in place where we can take action and things can get done.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Supervisor Deetra Poindexter, Library Chair Poindexter, founder of Change for Hope. Give the website for Change for Hope as well, so that they're interested, they can check you out for what you're doing with our young people and getting them exposed.
Yeah, so our website is www.change4hope.org. And please, that's what we do at Change for Hope. We give them that exposure. And we would love to have some kids that want to go out on some of these site projects and actually get their hands on and actually see, so that you can take that education back to your family and your school and your neighborhood and enlighten them too as well. So go to our website, call me up. Be more than glad to give you whatever information in the exposure and the experience and education. I call it the 3 E's: educated, experience, and exposure. You got those 3, you're going to be in good shape.
Thank you so very much. So as we are getting ready to wind down, we have about 9 minutes left in this wonderful show. I appreciate you again so very much. It's always good to talk to you, always good to work with you. I know you have another event that's coming up. I saw something posted on Facebook, the event that's coming up, and it kind of ties into the Georgia Youth Career Center of things that we're doing. But the next show, you all, is going to be April the 19th at 4 p.m. And we're going to be talking about the unemployment claims in Georgia. Yes, that very hot topic. Everything is hot topic in Georgia, but the unemployment claims and what's been going on with it. I have as my special guest some of my former colleagues who are in the House will be my guests. And we're going to talk about the new legislation that passed during session, which should help with all the claims jammed in this system. And so we're going to have a good conversation. So make sure you're tuning in April the 19th at 4 p.m. We'll be back with issues and answers. And Georgia Youth Career Center, that's my baby. We're going to be getting ready to kick off our membership drive with it. And this is my brainchild. I created after traveling across the state, being on the education committee, being on the small business development committee, and interacting with youth, parents, educators, and the business community. There's a lack when it comes down to career exposure for our young people. They don't have enough of it. There's a lot of work that we put on the school counselors. And I want to give a special shout out to all the school counselors, all the graduation counselors, whatever the name has changed to. We thank you and appreciate you all, because you have a huge task. Not only are you trying to develop them and get them into a career path, but you're now having to deal with a lot of extra social, emotional issues that are going on with our youth and young adults. So GYCC for short, you can go to my website. It's GAYouthCareerCenter.com. GA for Georgia, GA YouthCareerCenter.com. And what we do is that we are looking at how do we help make sure that Georgia is going to be the #1 place to do business, continue. You can't do it without the workforce. So GYCC, we're a career training company where we're going to train and expose our young people to those careers that they usually don't hear about. Like we talked about today, keeping our land safe, those environmental careers. Most of the time, our young people, especially in the underserved areas, never know anything about environmentals or bioscience, how all of that works together. We talk about STEAM, but they really don't understand a lot of those different careers. So by being a part of GYCC, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to get your children, your student exposed. And we focus on ages 12 to 23. So even if you've come out of school, you still don't know what it is you want to do, you contact us and we're going to try to get you on the right path. But you're going to have to do the work. We're just going to give you the information and the resources and guide you where you need to go. But you're going to have to do the legwork. And that's why, especially for our young people. But thank you so very much. for joining us again for this particular segment for Issues and Answers on WCEG Talk Radio, the community empowerment station here. And I didn't know, I did want to mention that some people were asking about the Stovall Policy Series, my workshops. I put them, I rescheduled, I'm in the process of rescheduling them so that we could give, spring break time. I had a few classes that I was going to do, one class I want to do this week, and I thought about no church, not thinking about no class. How bills become law. And we're actually going to take Senate Bill 202, which is the most talked about bill, and I'm going to walk our young people through the whole process of how the bill comes about, how it goes through the committee, then how it goes to the floor of each chamber, how it's passed, and how did it get to the governor's office for the governor to sign it. This is information they won't get in those textbooks in the classroom. I promise you that. I'm gonna give them the experience that I learned as a legislator at the state capitol. So be looking out for that coming back up again. We'll start the classes. Then I had some for adults. So those who just want to know how does politics work in Georgia and nationally, I'm going to give it to you right off the table. How I learned, I'm going to give it to you. So thank you so very much. Our time is coming close to the end. It's such a beautiful day outside. So go out, enjoy yourself, enjoy the environment. And I did want to make mention, I have about 3 minutes left. About 2 years ago in 2019, myself, Forest Park PTSA, Dr. LaWanda Falami, Jill Tech, and Councilwoman Kimberly James, and Arvis Walker, who's the PTA president, and Miss, the teacher, oh, I see her face, at Forest Park High School, one of the science teachers. We came together and we created environmental assessment survey project. And we appreciate the library because we were able to interview some of the patrons of the library about environmental issues that were taking place in the city of Forest Park. The students did an outstanding job. We met with them every Thursday for 10 weeks for about an hour, an hour and a half. They did a presentation and they learned a lot about the environment. We actually took them to Piggly Wiggly as one of the trips, and then we took them to Whole Foods in Decatur. We want them to see what the difference is and why your elected officials make a big, huge impact, a difference in the quality of life that you have in your community. Because the first thing they said when they went into Whole Food, why we don't have this in our community? So I went into explaining to them about that. But that's the exposure that we need to have for our young people. They even did research and came up with questions about electric cars. So as you all know now, you're hearing a lot more about electric cars. There's a company that came to Georgia that's now have their headquarters, national headquarters in Georgia, that actually have parts to the battery for the electric cars. So you're going to see a lot more as we talk about the environment, what's going on. Solar panels has always been talked about, but now you're seeing a lot more accessibility to solar panels in the state. So you all stay tuned. We try to keep you in the know here on Issues and Answers with WCEJ. I am your Honorable Valencia Stovall, your host, and thank you again, Supervisor Poindexter, joining us as our Soil and Water Conservation Supervisor for Clayton County. Thank you all. Enjoy yourselves and have a good rest of the day.